Right now, 80% of Republicans and 80% of Democrats believe that the other side is wrong. Well, not just wrong, completely wrong, 100% wrong. No wiggle room there, right? It gets worse. They also believe the other side is an existential threat to this nation, to America. Well, there's no warm and fuzzy in that message, is there? I'm David Thompson. Listen, so many people get hung up in their echo chambers. They get hung up in their ideology, and they can't step back far enough to see that there's some problems here that everyone has to deal with. Of course, most likely that'll never happen, because I truly believe we're headed to massive chaos in this country. We're already seeing it. Where? We had a No Kings protest day. Massive numbers of people protesting the policies of Donald Trump and his MAGA supporters. We have a government shutdown, record-setting. We have immigration raids that now have gone off the scale. In Los Angeles, they called a state of emergency because of the chaos of ICE running down people and chasing people through the streets. We have military going into our cities. What else can go wrong? This causes fear. If you're smart, you'll understand that there's something off here. I grew up in the 60s as a very small child. I remember what it was like, and it was not like this. There's something wrong here, people. Now, today I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. See, we're talking an apocalypse here. We're not talking an invasion by Russia or China, which everybody fears, or terrorist attacks by subversive groups in America. We're talking about Americans against Americans here. Ideology against ideology. And when those two things clash, you have trouble. Now let me go down a few things here that you might want to know. First thing we're going to talk about is dehumanization. This has happened on a big scale. I just happened to go to a Christian church yesterday, very conservative one, evangelical one. I know a lot about these people. I respect them. I love them. But I fear them as well. And there was a guest speaker, an evangelist there, a young man, a former athlete, with his shoulders back and chest out. And he had a decent message. But guess what the message had to include? Attacks on everything that had to do with Democrats or Democratic policies. The No King's Day protest, he had to throw that in. We'll have a king. Of course, they use that as a play on words. Our king's Jesus, which is true. But what the people are saying is not about Jesus. They're saying that we don't want a king in this country. And it's been perfectly clear, made perfectly clear by Donald Trump, he wants to rule as a dictator, as a king. We know this. He has said this. This is his personality. This is who he is. But guess what? Most of his followers have no idea that there's a danger here. A friend of mine's wife posted a AI-generated picture of Donald Trump and his wife with king and queen robes on and crowns. She said, "King, oh my, yes." I don't believe she understood how much of a problem that is in this country. It should be a red flag to every single person out there. You see, sadly, right-wing people, conservative people, right-wing evangelical type people, they look at everything as black and white, 100%, and it's easy to want to believe that. But that's not how the world is. Jesus didn't come here to try to make everything exactly as we want it to be. He gave us a choice to accept him. That's what his plan was. He wasn't trying to change the government or rewrite the rules of how government should handle the people and who should rule. No. But we've run amok here. Christianity has run amok here. And it's helped this right-wing base, not just Christians, but everybody else who hates brown people, who hates LGBTQ people, who hates supporting people who are in need. These people are on the lists that these right-wing people have generated. Donald Trump's enemy list. They agree with attacking them. So what you're now seeing is a new crusade here in America. A new crusade. How did the first one really work out for the world, for Christianity? It didn't. It made us look like butchers and animals. And we lost anyway. So what's going on? Let's get in and talk a little bit more about that. Number one, dehumanization. This happens a lot. Let's talk about feelings, or rather the lack of feelings. Ask people to rate the other side on a 0 to 100 feeling barometer. Okay? I don't think there's actually a feeling barometer, but let's just say there was. So what do you think the average would be? I'm going to give you a spoiler here. It's not toasty. 40% now give a flat 0. A big fat goose egg. Back in 2000, the number was a mere 8%. Think about this. In 2 decades, we went from I strongly disagree with your political views to you're not even human. That's pretty much a dramatic leap, wouldn't you say? You see, when our political enemies become demons, and this is literal and this is sad, and these people are going to be harshly judged for that, I believe. When they call others that they disagree with demons, well, the demons are the Democrats. Remember? That's what we hear all the time. Democratic policies, they're demons. This is what we hear. This is the rhetoric. If you think that and say that, you better go on your knees and start praying about it, because I think you're a little bit off in your belief system and ideology. So when our political opponents become demons, every single election feels like an existential war for the soul of the nation. Every political fight turns into a battle of ultimate good versus ultimate evil. And compromise? Forget about it. There is no such thing as compromise now. How do you compromise with the devil? You can see where this is headed. If you step back, if you have any sense and you step back and say, if that's where we are, I better reconsider it. I better think about it and pray about it if you're a praying person, and say something's wrong with me if I think that, because there is. So who's feeding this beast? Well, we know some of the culprits. Cable news and social media algorithms. Very dangerous. Social media, and I search through social media for my research. It helps me analyze the trend of the country. And no matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat, you get hammered with things that help you support your viewpoints. The echo chamber, so to speak. And the truth is, there's very little truth you can find anymore in any of these news agencies or platforms, because no one wants to do the work. Fortunately here, myself and my staff, we do the work to find the truth. Let's go on. Okay, they've figured out the secret sauce. Conflict equals clicks, clicks equals cash. And cash naturally funds more conflict. This is a cycle that's difficult to break, because today it's about money. They're always talking about money. A guy can be a mass murderer, but they'll tell you, boy, he had millions of dollars. He was a billionaire. How about leaving the money out and just staying with the guy's a douchebag? But I digress. The moment we slap the label evil on half the country, we effectively grant ourselves permission to shove, to censor, to demonize, and sometimes to even cheer on violence. You see that right now. Dehumanization isn't just a nasty habit. It's step one in every historical slide from stable democracy to overripe street chaos. And it's often the quietest step, easy to dismiss as just words, just a bit of heated rhetoric. Until the night those words turn into broken windows, broken bones, or worse. It's a chilling thought, but history's got a pretty consistent track record on this one. We know where this will lead. Historically, we know where this will lead. And common sense should tell you we know where this will lead. Sad. Number 2, 2 countries, 1 screen. Here's another fun fact. 80% of Americans now say we can't even agree on basic facts anymore. If you watch this channel, you know that I've talked about this a lot. That's why I try very hard to get factual information. Believe me, okay, it's there. It is there. You just got to get through all the subterfuge and confusing statements made by everybody who never want to face the facts. And that could be your neighbor, your mother, your friend, or any politician or news person you ever watch. It goes across the board here. Let that sink in. That's not a typo. 8 out of 10 people believe we're living in different realities. We're not just arguing over tax brackets or the nuances of foreign policy. We're arguing over what constitutes reality itself. Algorithmic feeds, those clever little digital puppeteers. They show conservatives one curated set of headlines, while liberals get an entirely different but equally curated set of headlines. Each side's proof is another side's Photoshop job. It's like we're watching two different movies, pretending they're documentaries about the same event. But they're not. Now sprinkle in the magic of AI deepfakes and cheapfakes, and suddenly you can't even trust your own ears or eyes. What happens when a shared reality collapses? Every single crisis, be it a hurricane tearing through a state, inflation squeezing our wallets, or a global pandemic, immediately spawns 2 or 3 or even 4 dueling storylines. If you genuinely believe the last election was stolen and your news feed confirms that belief hourly, well, then marching on a Capitol building probably feels pretty downright patriotic, not criminal. This is split epistemology. It's what engineers call a single point of failure. You snap one beam and the whole bridge starts to wobble precariously. When truth becomes tribal, governance turns into a never-ending identity brawl, a pointless shouting match where no one hears anything. In the countdown clock, well, it just skips ahead 2 precious seconds. Number 3, gridlock as a feature of your government, not a bug. Remember when polarization used to be, dare I say, almost productive? It was like the oil that kept the gears of checks and balances spinning, ensuring robust debate and preventing any one faction from overreaching. Now it's not oil, it's sand. It grinds everything to a halt. Our Congress, bless their little hearts, can barely pass budgets without 11th hour miracles, usually involving a lot of dramatic hand-wringing and last-minute deals nobody really likes. The ideological overlap between 2 major parties, it's virtually gone. Moderates, those brave souls who once bridged divides, are now an endangered species, hunted down and driven to extinction by the purity tests of their respective bases. The result? Government shutdowns, which you're seeing right now in real time. Credit rating downgrades that make us look like a dysfunctional family on a global stage. And a bureaucracy that limps from one crisis to the next, perpetually understaffed and overstressed. When government can't deliver even the most basic answers or solutions, trust plummets even further, fueling even more hatred toward the other side. It's a classic doom loop, isn't it? Meanwhile, big, slow-moving challenges, things like climate resilience, our escalating national debt, or even the urgent need for AI regulation, they just keep compounding every day. They're like a ticking time bomb we're all pretending isn't there. Picture a pilot who doesn't want to speak to his co-pilot while the plane runs dangerously low on fuel. The cockpit doesn't have to descend into a fistfight. Simple, stubborn paralysis is enough to make the mountain do the job for them. Number 4, history's warning light. It's always good to go back and look at what others did, where they failed. Although the adage is that history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. Here's my point. History does repeat itself, just it looks differently. Let's go on. Internal hatred broke up the Weimar Republic and tragically broke up Yugoslavia. The pattern is depressingly consistent. You take rising inequality, add a generous helping of scorched earth rhetoric where the other side is existential, and then throw in a dash of economic shock, and what you get? Street violence, secession movements, or worse. We're seeing that happen before our eyes. It's just the beginning. Scholars have a fancy name for one of the key ingredients. It's called elite overproduction. Listen to this. This is new to me too. It's when too many people have elite credentials, fancy degrees, big dreams, big ambitions, and they're all chasing a few elite slots. They're frustrated elites, feeling overlooked and undervalued, weaponized grievance. We see that today. They bankroll media outlets that expertly fan the flames of hatred, and eventually they bless mobs as patriots, regardless of their actions. We saw this on January 6th. Does this all sound familiar? Well, it should. Now, the U.S. isn't predestined to implode. Of course not. But here's this. Let's be honest. We tick every single box on the historical checklist. The difference is a matter of scale here. We're talking about 330 million people. There are an estimated 400 million privately held firearms in the United States, and a global reserve currency that underpins the world economy. These are big deals. A meltdown here wouldn't like Sarajevo in '93. Thank goodness. It could look like sporadic assassinations, coordinated cyber sabotage, crippling critical infrastructures, or governors simply ignoring federal courts and mandates. History's real tripwire isn't when the shooting starts, but rather when a sizable minority decides that elections are illegitimate before any votes are even cast. Well, my friends, we're already flirting with a red line here. We're in that danger zone right now. It's already happened. Words have already been spoken. Threats have already been made. We're knee-deep into it. Or should I say, we're up to our chin in it right now. So let's talk about where the tipping point is right now. How close are we really to catastrophe? Let me get more specific. That happens at the moment a sitting governor refuses to certify a presidential vote, or when a losing candidate's party cheers on a state legislator sending rival electors to Washington. We're essentially one Supreme Court ruling away from a parallel inauguration. Imagine that two rival presidents claiming the same oath, both insisting that they are the legitimate leader of the United States. Federal legitimacy splits down the middle. National Guard commanders suddenly face conflicting orders from two different commanders and sporadic violence in the streets. That will graduate from isolated incidents to something historians will have to find a terrifying new name for. Now, we're not there yet, but here's a sobering statistic. 34% of Americans now say violence can be acceptable to save the country. That's a massive leap from single digits back in 2015. The distance between acceptable and necessary is often just one viral video, one emotionally charged event, one perceived injustice. The countdown meter, if we're going to be honest, puts us right on the edge of destruction. The danger is real. Be prepared for it. So is there any good news? That might be what you're asking me. The truth is, I don't have any good news. All I see is anger. All I see are people pointing fingers. All I see is the conservative wing of the Republican Party allowing many of these atrocities to happen in our country, the ones I mentioned. These attacks on foreigners, on immigrants, the raids by ICE, the 21st century crusades against immigrants. We're now dealing with a whole new religion that allows violence, that wants to take over, that wants to have authority. We're looking at a party who wants, believe it or not, people to accept them as the leaders, people to accept their belief systems, people to accept their religion. We're seeing more and more fuel added to the fire. The fire will get bigger. Like I said, it only takes one incident, whatever that incident is. We've had a few close calls, but it's getting worse. And next time, it could trigger the civil war that we've all been worried about. Now, as I come before you, I ask that you start thinking about what's happening. I want you to understand how far we came from a day when both parties actually talked and negotiated with each other. Those days are gone. The key point to this is Donald Trump, not Barack Obama, not Joe Biden. Donald Trump is at the center of this in a big way. His rhetoric pushes buttons pretty much at every level. He has used now militarization to get his ways. He uses money from the federal government to promote his policies, to go on and congratulate himself for a job well done. He is a dangerous person. He is making sure this divided country has no way back. He's burning every bridge he can, because what he wants is a war. He wants a war that he can win, and sadly, we're heading for it. Sadly, America, we're the only ones that can stop it, and unfortunately, there aren't enough of us to do that. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our videos. I'll see you next time. And remember, love your neighbor as yourself. If you do that, a lot of these problems go away immediately. See you next time.